Hey guys, today Camille joins me. And this interview will be interesting for a lot of you guys, I think, because I think for one reason, Camille is a great example of how when you start to work on the right internal shifts and the right things in your life, doesn't just affect the health of your relationships, like romantic relationship, but it affects also the health of just overall you and everything, which the healthier you become, the healthier your relationships become, the healthier you become in essence. And that creates a very positive cycle in many other areas of life than just relationships. And I think she is another example of, we have so many interviews with people who have reconciled, right? But she's a perfect example of someone who, they don't use uh finding new relationships as an excuse to cop out from the work they need to do, right? They don't do it prematurely, and so they actually grow in a massive way. And when you grow in a massive way like that, you open yourself up to outcomes that you never thought was possible, you never thought were in the cards before. But Camille, let's go back to before you joined the program.
Mhm.
What was your life like then?
Very different than how it is now. Mentally, I was in a completely different place. I felt a lot more limited by, my limiting beliefs. And before the program, I was in a relationship with, 1A. Um, I'll keep names anonymous. Um, and things were kind of hard. I thought I was going to marry this man. For 4 years, we were together. I thought I was going to marry him. Um, but things came to, an end in February of last year, literally a couple days before Valentine's Day. Which that was actually the second time that happened to me. Someone else broke up with me a couple years prior before Valentine's Day. So that's fun. Common denominator here. But anyway, so yeah, my life was like way different. And I mean, it's so much has changed.
What happened, do you think? So if you could look back 2020 vision on what was missing from your side to lead to that basically being dumped a couple of days before Valentine's Day, and a couple of years back also being dumped a couple of days before Valentine's Day. What was missing?
Um, okay, I would definitely have to say, like, I've always been very introspective, but being introspective in the right ways was missing. And having that guidance on how to do that and having those like daily habits, the daily processes, as we call them, to be able to do that. So that was huge.
Hmm. Hmm. And what was missing in the relationship itself that caused people to just kind of go, I don't know, I want to,
I
yeah.
mean, it was emotional safety. It all boils down to emotional safety because that's something that I didn't know how to create. That's something that I didn't feel. That's something that I grew up not feeling, not having with my parents, with my siblings, with, friends growing up. It was always really hard. And now here I am trying to, make this relationship work with someone like on a serious level and never having like actually built real emotional safety before in my life. How do I like get this to work in a relationship without knowing?
Hmm.
So that I think is like the biggest thing. And like feeling comfortable with someone enough to have that emotional safety and to be able to create it within yourself first was key. And that was something that was definitely missing a year and a half ago
Yeah.
before I joined the program.
Why do you think it was so hard for you to create that emotional safety? Because, conceptually speaking, it's not hard to understand, right?
Mm.
Um, the basic premise is can can you have you created an environment where your partner and yourself even can feel safe expressing yourself and listening to each other and having actually the roots behind communication? That seems very simple conceptually. And I'm
Mhm.
sure you, even though you may not have called it emotional safety, I'm sure you knew about it and you knew that was missing.
Mhm.
Why is it that even though you knew conceptually that was missing, you still couldn't create it?
Well, I didn't know how. I didn't know how. I actually I don't really think I knew how it really felt. You know, you think you're comfortable with someone, you think you are, being honest and open, but really, like, there's a part of my mental where I was hiding from myself.
Mm.
And like relationship revival helped bring that to the surface so I could actually see what was going on and do something about it.
Mm. I think for me, if I could look back, the hardest part for me was, you know, creating safety is not created in the obvious moments. It's created in this very subtle moments, right? So, I look back and I always try to create safety by telling my partner to feel safe, by giving gifts, 5 love languages, stuff like that. And I thought like me doing positive things was going to lead to positive momentum within safety, but I didn't see the other side, which is like, okay, not only was I creating positive momentum, but I also was creating a lot of negative momentum with a lot of stuff that I did that I didn't even realize was creating negative momentum. Like, for example, right, whenever she would come home and she would tell me about how shitty her day was, stuff like that. I would be that coach and I would just tell her like, hey, everything's gonna be okay, everything's gonna be fine, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
knowing that actually destroyed a lot more safety than I thought what I was building. Um, and the other part too is also safety is a very falling outcome, not really a striving outcome. So you can't just tell someone to feel safe because
Yeah.
trust is something you fall into. That's why they call it the trust fall. So you telling your partner to feel safe, that she can feel safe, that's not going to work. And I think all those paradoxes of how you think safety is created versus like how it's actually created, that caused a lot of havoc in me. And that was really frustrating for me too, because the more I tried, the less it happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, so that was before you joined the program. Let's kind of fast forward to how things are now. I guess you said things are very different now. Let's start with the
Yeah.
internal things first. What does it feel like to be where you are now? And I know it's been a while since you were who you were back then. But if you, let's
Mm-hmm.
say, right, imagine that yesterday was you 2 years ago and today was you today. So you really polarize that, contrast it. Like, what is that feeling like now?
Whoa, it's insane. Like I literally am the happiest I've ever been. Like actually. Um, I mean, when I was like way younger, we're talking like 10 years ago, I had really bad depression, really bad anxiety, and I've always done a lot of self-development stuff. But a year and a half ago, where I didn't feel confident in what I was doing. I wasn't really sure where I was going in my life. I had less of a direction. I graduated college while coronavirus was a thing. So there I was a year and a half ago. I was 23 and I'm like, I don't really have a direction in life. So I was kind of just like floating there. But now things have changed, not just in my relationships, but also like with my, work life, my career, things like that, of that nature. There's a clear path forward now that I can see. And that is also very motivating. Internally, like I said, I feel so much more confident, not only about what I'm doing, but about how I'm doing things. So even if I do have, a time or like a day where I'm just like, kind of feeling it, kind of stressed out, whatever, not really sure, what I'm doing, I always have like those processes to fall back on to be like, okay, let's dissect this a little bit and
Mm.
see like what's really going on here. So that way I can take control back over my life, but in a very like subtle way.
Yeah. I want to branch off to 2 areas there because, we talk about the essence of what confidence is, which is having high self-efficacy and also self-worth. And
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people mistakenly think that confidence comes after you get some outcomes, right? But actually, confidence is when you haven't really gotten the outcome yet, but you know how to get there. You know where to step, the wrong ways to step, and the right ways to step to basically manufacture a path to get to where you want to go. And this can apply to confidence for relationships, to confidence for a career, to confidence for whatever, right?
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of men, for example, and a lot of women who may have a lot of confidence in other parts of life, like parenting, like career, but then because they don't know how to drive that relationship, how to steer, how to control, not control, but like steer it is a good word.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, they can't feel confident in that because they don't know, like, okay, if I do X, will I get Y? Or if I do input X, will I get output Y? The output is just like some wild card. I don't know. It just happens and it just backfired on me.
Mhm.
Is that the kind of confidence that you're talking about? Is that kind of how it feels?
Um, okay, I kind of lost you there for a second.
Yeah.
Um, so like the confidence that I feel now is a lot different than before, where I'd be like trying some things, hoping it'll work. Now it's like I know no matter what, it's gonna work.
Mm, yeah.
Like my self-worth um started out, pretty, like my self-worth was high. I like boosted that over years, but then my self-efficacy, my like belief in my ability to do this and to do things
Mm,
was really low. And that's where RR like came into play for me and really helped boost that.
mm.
Because now I know I can do it. It's
That's
just
like
a matter of
that's
like,
such a beautiful feeling to have, right? It's like, it's almost like life now becomes a video game almost, where you can try different things, you can explore different things. You are not limited by your limiting beliefs anymore. You don't have to be limited by your limiting beliefs anymore. You can reach for the sky and know that even though you may not understand how to get there today, you have the process to figure it out. And you're going to get there eventually. It's a matter of when, not really if. So you're playing with a cheat code in a way. You're playing a game. You're not playing the serious life, the scary life anymore. Like, yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's beautiful.
Um, so with your relationship right now, you've decided to not pursue things with 1A, as we'll call him.
Uh,
Um, why not? What was the reason that made you decide, like, clarity to go, like, oh, I don't think this is the path to go?
um, I mean, there were a few different things. Um, I think there was like the moment I decided to not pursue him. This might sound terrible, but it was actually when 1B came up to me and introduced himself. And I was like, this is the moment where it's either going to go in this direction or that direction. He
Mm.
just asked me, are you single? Or like, do you have a boyfriend? And I'm like, in that moment, I knew the universe was going to be like, Camille, this is the moment where you're deciding. And I chose to move on. I mean, there were a lot of things within the months leading up to that, um, where I was, steering toward one side. Like my sister's wedding in October last year. He, I wanted him to come. It was a great opportunity to meet my family, and I was really excited to have him
Mm.
there. But he was, down in the dumps the whole time. And I tried to be, supportive. I think I did a bad job at the time. I tried, but I mean, I was in the wedding and, I had to, have the responsibilities of doing this to help and doing that to help. And I wasn't there with him the whole time by his side, like while we were doing everything. So I think, like the way he handled himself in that situation showed me a lot. And
Mm.
then like 2 weeks after that, a mutual friend had a Halloween party, and we saw each other there just because, we both went, it's our friend. And we had a conversation in the car that evening, and he kept telling me, he kept repeating himself. He's like, Camille, I am so fucking done. I am so fucking done. Sorry for swearing.
No,
Uh,
I do it all the time.
okay, same. um, and in the moment, I was like, he's done with me. He's done with this relationship. But looking back, I know that he meant, no, I'm done feeling the pain that I feel mentally. I'm not necessarily done with you. I'm done with feeling the way that I feel because it's so freaking painful. I don't know what to do anymore. So that conversation happened, and just, talking with like friends and family, which, I understand, like I stick to the principles that's laid out in the program and treat everything outside with a grain of salt. I decided that, I felt held back in my life, and I no longer wanted to feel that way. It kind of actually goes back a little bit further, because when I was in high school, I was in a really like terrible, I don't even know if you can call it a relationship, but it was like an abusive, like mentally, physically abusive relationship. I should have gotten a restraining order when I was 16. I didn't. I can talk about it now and I feel fine. But looking back, I think that trained my brain to like feel held back and feel scared in a relationship. So like RR gave me the tools that I needed to be able to break out of those old patterns where I wasn't being true to myself. And now I am.
Yeah.
Listening to my heart. And I didn't like leave 1A, like we still talk like almost every day. It's really cool. And, it's good to see him here and there. But we both understand, like, something romantic in the future probably isn't going to happen at this point.
I think so. I think it's about, when I look back at my journey too, when my partner told me, I don't think this is the relationship that I want, I had, like, that was a fork in the road for me. It's either I maintain my denial of where I was or my own value and kind of blame this on her to say, oh, if you don't appreciate me, then screw you. Or I took the humble pill and I realized maybe this is life telling me to grow in some way. So basically, she was saying to me, I was growing, you're not. And I've grown past you a little bit, and I don't feel the same way anymore. And are you going to take this opportunity to grow with me? If you can grow with me, then we can go somewhere. But if you're not going to grow with me, we can't we can't go anywhere, right? So sometimes, like, even when you grow, reconciliation doesn't happen because you're not maybe growing at the same pace. Sometimes you're not growing in the same direction as well. So I know a lot of couples, for example, who joined the program and eventually they decided to not be together anymore because, we here in this program, for example, we teach emotional safety. We say like emotional safety is great, but then, from difficult moments, people don't always learn that emotional safety is great. People learn maybe the other way where, there's a lot of men, for example, who just say all women are bitches or whatever it is. You can't be nice to women, whatever it is. If that's what you learn, if that's the direction you grow, then yeah, like you're going to grow apart. Right. I think the other thing that I want to say too is, you present an interesting story because, what I really love about your journey is that even after you made the decision to not pursue 1A and then pursue B, C's, whatever, you didn't really slow down in making the program your lifestyle. And I think that's, a lot of people misunderstand what I do as I'm trying to fight for reconciliation no matter what. It's really not that. I'm trying to grow you so that you can choose for yourself which path you want to go. Now, people sometimes take it the wrong way, though, and say, okay, if I don't have to reconcile, then I can just choose another partner. But they use it as a cop-out, as an excuse to just say, like, okay, it's really because I don't really want to do the work. I don't really want to confront a lot of the ugly stuff within me. So I'm just going to pick another partner. If you do that, usually what happens is they'll pick a new partner, but from a very angry, from a very like broken, damaged state that, like your story, for example, the damage you took in a previous relationship, and because you couldn't get over it, it damaged your future relationships too. And that will usually happen, but you'll be so much older at that point to where you have so little life left to live. It's just such a shame that people waste it that way. So what was the thing that made you decide to still want to stick with the program and just continue eating the humble pie in a way, even after you decided this is not the relationship for me? I want to explore alternatives.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You kind of touched upon it actually, where like I understood at the time. And I was kind of, having this mental debate of like, am I being a bad leader if I decide to pursue another person? And the answer is no. Like, depending on where you're coming from, that'll answer that question. And what I decided my intention was going to be is continuing to grow myself, because if I just was like, oh, I give up, I don't want to do the work, I'm, going to be lazy, that same problem I had in that first relationship is going to follow me to the next one, and then to the next one, and then to the next one. And before you know it, I'm going to be, I don't know, 50 years old or 60 years old. I don't know. Like, it's just not going to work out. And I want to be able to live the best life that I can possibly live and be able to love properly and like, give other people like my energy in a very positive way.
Mm.
So I understood that no matter what, I got to be a good leader. And in order to do that, I must make all the RR principles and processes my way of life. That's my way of being, whether I'm in a relationship or not.
Yeah.
I mean, right now I'm, kind of like living the single life, but I'm, pursuing something with one C, but nothing's like official right now,
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah. You kind of made me think about something. So, obviously I'm in a position where like career-wise, financially, we don't have to think about money anymore, kind of thing. And you know how people always say that the masculine state, the men are always supposed to be, careers, they're one thing. Like that's their purpose, right? Like their purpose is their career and vice versa, kind of thing. And increasingly, I've been kind of become very disenchanted about that, because I realize like there's only one relationship that really will last forever, right? It's a romantic relationship. Like even your relationship with the kids are not going to be as important as the relationship you have with your 1A. Because at some point, your kids are going to turn 18 and go to college and run off, right? Eventually going to retire. You can't work forever. So after you retire, after the kids leave, who do you have to say good morning to every morning, say good night to every night, have meals with, right? It's only this one person. So this person, this one relationship is really the one that will determine your happiness, either make it great, make your life great, or miserable. And one of the things I realized too was every one of my relationships started out amazing, and then to watch my partner slowly degrade and that chemistry slowly degrade is just painful. And seeing the person you love lose a lot of their like spark and whatever it is was painful, because you couldn't create the right environment to nurture it. And if that happens enough, like you said, eventually you can't just say it's them. You have to say it's kind of me. Yeah. I'm the common denominator, like you said, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like inheriting a business that is successful and then you burn it to the ground and repeating that over and over again. At some point, you're like, okay, dude, like maybe I suck at business right now. Right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So guys, just the big takeaway here, right? You know, when we say the quote, right? No one has relationship problems, but people have problems to the self that reflects in the relationship. This program is called Relationships Revival, but really it's about reviving yourself so that you are in a position to revive your relationship if that's what you want to do. But if you want to start a new relationship, you can do that. But basically, it's growing yourself to whatever levels, high levels that you want, actually becoming high value. And then from there, you can choose where you want to go. But before you grow, the question of the choice shouldn't come to your mind, right? The choice should come to your mind after you've grown, not before. Because if you ask it before you've grown, we know that you're growing with an outcome in mind already. You already limited yourself and you can't grow to your full extent from that state, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Let's spend about 20 minutes to talk about the program, right? You said so much about the program in your write-up. So let me just ask this question, okay? If you could describe the program to someone, how would you describe it? What would you say?
I would say it's all about reviving your relationship with yourself. That's how I interpreted it. That's how I treat it. And it's a way of life. It's a lifestyle, and it builds you into the best version of yourself possible.
What was your definition of the best version of yourself before joining the program? And what would be your definition now?
Okay, so this is an easy one.
Okay.
Before I was like, oh, best version of myself has a lot of money, good house, like a fancy car, all those outcomes, right? But now the best version of myself, we are where we are. And it's awesome no matter what, because like I know I'm doing the things that's gonna like get me to where I want to go, like the direction I'm going in. It's not about being, at the finish line. It's all about like, okay, I'm here today, and like, how can I be like, 1% better than yesterday? How can I like just like constantly be improving myself? And before you know it, you turn around and you're like, oh my gosh, like I've
I'm
made it
here.
so far. I'm
I've run
here.
past the finish line.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I'm still going.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Isn't it funny how the success principles that it takes to be successful in your relationship is also the success principles that you require to be successful in anything in life, even like self-management, but also career management and stuff, financial management, right? You talk about not having the victim mindset, for example. In order for you to be a leader anywhere, including your relationship, you cannot have the victim mindset. You cannot even blindly fall into it. You cannot be tethered. You have to be bulletproof in a thriving sense. You have to know the frameworks. You have to kind of dance around conversations and be able to take resistance and turn it from negative to positive. Like that skill, even parenting is the same thing, right? Yeah, it's beautiful to see it manifest in a client. So yeah, it's awesome. And you also mentioned something interesting, which was like this program wasn't really about teaching you, giving you the fish in a way, but it will tell you how to get the things that you want. Like, I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm telling you, here's the thought process and the process in which you can find your own life that you want and how you can get there. What was that? Was that a concern for you when you first joined the program, that this program is going to tell you how to live your life in this very specific sense? And you might worry that, what if it's not the life that I want?
Yes and no. So, I understood that this is a way of thinking. This is, Jeff's not telling me how to live my life. He's just teaching me like new ways of thinking that's going to get me the life that I want by me envisioning who's the person I want to become. That's up to me. So all that like is up to me, but it gives me the tools. The program gives me the tools to be able to be that person and to accomplish the things that I want to accomplish.
Yeah. I said to someone recently, it's like, this program, right? If you want to go to level 50, you can use it to go to level 50. If you want to go to level 5,000, you can too. If you want to be with 1A, you can. If you want to be with 1B, you can. It's up to you. But the crux is like, I want to grow your intrinsic value so that you can choose where you want to go. A lot of people, they have low intrinsic value. They're basically beggars who are trying to be choosers, right? Here, I'm like, okay, let's increase your value so that you can actually choose on what you want. And then everything made sense for the first time in my life. You said that. What what was, if you could articulate, like, what were the things that made sense, that make sense now?
Okay.
Are you looking at your notes?
Yes, I'm looking at my
You're right up.
worksheet.
Yeah.
Did I say everything makes sense?
I think it was like in the section where you put like in the experience in the program or like expectations, something like that, somewhere in the bottom.
Okay. Yeah. Um, oh yeah, totally. So yeah, the YouTube videos, when I, first discovered you on YouTube, I was searching like how do I save my relationship, and then I find these videos and I find this marriage counselor or consultant, whatever you would like to call yourself. He's a savior of relationships, guys. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like this guy seems to be talking to men whose wives are divorcing them. This is perfect for me. So the way you break down emotional safety, psychological safety, like, and then you negate the current ways that I was thinking, which was like totally wrong. It's like not the way that you should be thinking about relationships. Mm. It all started to make sense from a systematic, like scientific, psychological standpoint. Mm. It was like, oh, that's why I feel this way, or that's why he does this thing. I understood finally why like my love life unfolded the way that it did. Mm. And why how I kept destroying emotional safety through the little things, even though I was doing a lot of positive, acts of love. Like I love cooking, so I would cook a lot, and I would hope that that would like make amends for like some of the emotional damage or whatever. I didn't know any better at the time before relationship revival.
Yeah.
But yeah, like with the program, I'm like, oh my goodness, like everything makes sense now. And now I understand like how I can change my life by doing these things, implementing these daily processes, and in a sense, take back control, like take on what, Jocko Willink calls like extreme ownership.
Yeah.
It's not falling into the victim mindset anymore, because that's something that I was doing a lot without realizing it.
Yeah.
Like I catch myself, like my brain's still kind of doing that sometimes, but I catch it immediately and I'm like, I kind of step back and I look at myself and I'm like, you're falling for the victim mindset here. Just in the little moments. Yeah. Like, little accidents happen, the dog food falls all over the floor. Victim mindset right there. Just the little things too.
Yeah. And we're gonna talk about that because that's a big topic around like you have to make this a lifestyle, like you said, because even after you finish the program, you get the outcomes that you want, you're always going to be getting new levels of issues, new level of problems. If you go to level 10, you'll get level like 11 to 15 problems. If you go to level 20, you go to level 21 problems, right? And you always have to make this a lifestyle, because the lifestyle of being able to like be very introspective in the correct way, and then shift the emotions, see what the mind viruses are trying to tell you, shift it. Your ability to basically drive conversations using the frameworks in a way that creates safety, doesn't destroy it in accidental ways. That's always crucial, no matter what stage of life you're at. But Camille, our program is a very male-dominated program. Like we actually market towards men as well. As a woman coming into it, did you feel like that was a hindrance at all to you? Like, did you doubt that coming in? Oh, this is a very male program. I'm a woman. This doesn't apply to me. What are your thoughts here?
So actually, when I first wanted to apply, I wasn't sure that the program accepted women, because at the time it was a male-dominated program, but I knew that it would apply regardless. So I still applied, and I'm here now. So I've done all the work, and honestly, like it was not a hindrance at all. I actually find it to be very valuable to be able to see like the men's perspective and also get like a lot of feedback from other men. And also I actually had a really good experience, like, meeting on calls with people and introducing like my perspective as a woman. So I actually found it to be like beneficial for both men and women in the program. And then when I do connect with other women, it's like we connect really well.
Yeah.
So I found it to be not a hindrance. If anything, it was actually a really good experience.
Yeah. And this is something I want to stress for people too, because we get this question a lot. It's like, does this work if you're a woman? Because look at the fundamentals of what we're trying to teach here, which is like emotional safety, psychological safety, emotional mutual admiration, alignment, etc. All those things, whether you're a man or a woman, you want to create in your partner. You want to create with your partner, right? So as a male, I want safety. I want emotional safety to be able to express what I need to express. I want psychological safety to feel like I can understand someone and be listened to someone. I want to feel admired and admiration as well. These are basic fundamental human needs. Now, the only difference is really the sexual passion side, because you have to look at the masculine side or the feminine side. But the principles behind that polarity, for example, that principles behind like the attraction, for example, is pretty much the same. So if you learn the principles, you can apply it to your situation. The same way works for the internal shifts too, right? Untethering. Whether you're a man or woman, you need to untether because that's what life requires you to do now. Bulletproof vest. Doesn't matter, you know? So I want people to really understand that it doesn't matter what gender you are. The other thing that makes you different, Camille, is also you're young. A lot of the people in the program are a lot older. They're married for a long time. They have kids, and you're kind of coming into this, and now you're using the program into like a dating perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like why do you think in your mind, how do you apply the same principles here to dating?
So I find it very applicable no matter where you are, where you stand, whether, you know, you're married and you have kids, you've been married for 30 years, or you're still single, you've never been married and you have no kids. That's my situation. If anything, I kind of feel like it puts me like at an advantage not being married yet, because I can pick and choose now, who do I want to be with? And now that I've like raised my standards, like not only for myself, but also like a future partner, it's helping me navigate the dating world in a way that I've never been able to navigate it before. Because before, once I find someone and I really like them, I kind of was like clinging on to them, and I would have done like anything to make it work. And now I'm finding myself like, wow, like I actually kind of want to like not embrace a relationship with, you know, the person that I'm currently seeing, because I see bigger things in the horizon for me. So now I feel like a freedom of like, now I can choose like where I place my energy and like which relationships do I want to grow, instead of feeling limited to just like one person.
Right.
So I find it to be very freeing, and I feel a lot more independent. And I just feel like this freedom I've never felt before in my life, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And now I have options, and I'm like really like creating my life instead of, you know, trying to turn around and undo all this damage. You know, if I've been in a marriage for 20 years and things haven't been working out well, now I get to create fresh, and I find that really amazing.
I'm guessing the sense of freedom comes from a couple of places. Number one is, I think you get to see in other people what are green flags and red flags a lot clearer too. I think. I think you
Yeah.
know what you need to, you know what you want, because you know, like, okay, if I have safety, admiration, alignment in mind, and I have these kind of principles internally that I'm looking for in mind, and here's how I'm growing internally myself and how I want my relationship to be, you have a clear picture of like what you want as well. But I think also, like you said in your write-up, right? You said you can really create a deep relationship with anyone. It's a matter of like, who do you want to create it with? It's pretty much the essence of being successful. Like for me, for example, people are always trying to like pull me into many different directions, trying to get my attention in so many different directions. And I'm free now to choose my value, to go, okay, where do I want to place my time, my energy into it? Rather than coming from the other side where you're begging for someone for you to spend time with. You know what I mean? It's a very different position to be in.
Totally.
Yeah. And it feeds into that power position too, where, the second part is really the second kind of person is really needy, right? If you don't have enough areas, people, things for you to put your energy into, not enough people pulling you in, you're going to be begging for people to like, please pull me in, pull me in. And here you're kind of like operating from a state of abundance where you're not seeking that neediness anymore. So it comes very naturally from within, and it comes from that self-esteem, from growing yourself and growing your value,
Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah.
love.
Instead of like, seeing someone that I like and, I envision this relationship with them and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I really want to be with them. I'll do anything. Now I'm just like, okay, is this person good for me? Is this what I really want? Am I good for them? And like really just understanding and having the confidence to be able to like introduce myself into situations where, let's say I want to meet someone. Like I just met, 1C in person for the first time this past weekend. And that opened my eyes and broadened my horizon of like, wow, there's actually more people out there. There's more fish in the sea that I click with better, that I feel like I can be best friends with them for the rest of my life. There's just that energy that's there that I never felt before. But I wouldn't have been able to experience that if I was still the old me, if I was still scared, if I was still operating out of fear, being afraid to leave, what I currently have in my current situation for something new, which could potentially be bigger and better. So there's definitely that newfound confidence. And with that comes the freedom of mind to create something amazing.
Yeah. And so just to clarify something, guys, it's not like Camille is saying to be just indifferent, right? You're coming from a place of want, not need. And that's a very crucial distinction. It's when you pick a relationship or when you pick a path for yourself, it's you're picking that path because you want to pick that path, not because you need to pick that path. And ironically, when you come from a state of need, I need some outcome, I need some person, you ironically will never get that person. But if you come from a place of want, where I want that person, again, like Camille is saying, you're not operating from a place of fear, from a place of scarcity, from a place of need, from a place of, just negativity. And so you're going to naturally attract the things you want more, because you're just more creative. You're just happier. It's like, in the program we say, you need to get to a thriving state in your mind, because if you don't thrive, if you just survive, you can never really play out the frameworks properly, because you're coming from that place of fear. And when you come from the place of fear, you're not going to be creative. You're not going to find angles to start conversations, etc. And so for people who are right now in like no contact, for example, who are facing heavy resistance, your question shouldn't be, what do I need to say? Your question should be, what do I need to work on within so that I can thrive, so that what to say becomes a lot more natural, will just come to mind naturally. And I think you brought a next point too, which is that I think when you grow in the correct ways, you also will naturally attract the right kinds of people too. So you say, for example, you see some people who you click with better. I think the people you click with, I bet, has changed before and after. So your idea of like the people you click with has changed because your paradigms have changed too. Do you see that as well?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the people that I have in my life now, And it's almost as if this happens subconsciously, because this is something that, as you work on like rewiring your brain and you work on like changing yourself subconsciously to be more you, more, free, more like control, not like control, but influence over, your say in life and what you're doing. You're going to emit an energy, and that energy is going to attract people of the same type of energy on the same wavelength as you.
Yes.
So whereas before, like, I thought I clicked with some people, I never experienced what I experience now, which is like actually clicking with them. And wow, this is what it feels like. This is new. This is a new paradigm. This is something I've never experienced before. And I wouldn't have known about this if I hadn't altered my paradigms and really just tuned into my energy. What wavelength am I operating on? And this is something that I feel like RR helps you discover within yourself.
Yeah. I want to dive deeper into like the definition of what clicking means, right? Because I can sense a lot of people listening to that and going, they're almost like looking at that as a fate mentality, right? You just click or you don't. But I don't see it like that. The way I see it is, if I look at the people I click with people who are actually very different than me. I click with people with different interests, with different stages of life, with different preferences here and there, taste, even personalities. Like me and my wife, we're so different. Like she's so bubbly, she's so extroverted, and I'm super introverted. I can lock myself up for 3 months in a cabin and be okay. So it's not similarities that make you click, but I think for me, it's we click in the growth mindset setting, right?
Totally.
So it's, when I hire employees, for example, I don't hire for people's skills. I hire for people's potential. And I want to be able to like play ball with you in understanding how to grow together. And we can be growing in two separate directions, but as long as you're growing together, you're doing the growing together, that's clicking for me. Do you feel that for you?
Yeah, no, actually, I feel like you nailed it the way you described that. I mean, it really depends on like what you're interested in. And as someone that's very like interested in self-development and that growth mindset of always, expanding like and making myself into the better and best version of myself I can possibly become over time. That growth mindset, that's actually something that 1C and I really both click on. And he actually takes action and does things in his life that show me he actually is that person that he says he is, or is the person that he wants to be. And I really like that. I'm really attracted to that. So someone can say they're into the growth mindset and then never take action, while others like, say the same thing, but they do take action. And that's just two different stages, I think, on like how you're growing and where you're growing. And sometimes, a lot of people don't know how to grow, but they want to. And I feel like that's where something like RR kind of comes into play, where it teaches you how to grow yourself. So you don't ever have to like sit there and say you want to take action, but then you don't, because maybe you do and you stay in motion and you think you're taking action, but it's really not getting you anywhere. So then 5 years pass and you're like, why did I not like move forward as much as like these other people? But yeah, I feel like RR really accelerates that. So I found that to be like really amazing.
So the term that Camille used, emotion, is a term that we use in the program. Basically, it's saying there's either action where you're moving forward towards something, but then there's also motion where you think you're moving forward, but you're just running around in a circle. And this is like when you're in the realm of overthinking or thinking the wrong things, thinking the useless things, right? That's motion. And motion doesn't get you anywhere. In your experience, why do you think, what is the thing that separates the people you say, who say they want to grow, but they don't actually grow versus they want to grow, but then they actually grow? What's the telltale signs that you look for?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, are you like evaluating yourself? Are you checking back in with yourself? Because I feel like a lot of people, we just like, you know, we have an idea of like where we want to go, and we do some things that we think will get us there. But then we never take a step back and kind of remove ourselves from the situation and look in with like a third person perspective to be like, am I actually getting someplace? This is kind of where like, you know, sitting at your SOC comes into play, where you're kind of looking in and you're like, okay, what am I doing that's working? What am I doing that's not working?
That objectivity analysis. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like that is something that helps distinguish those who stay in motion versus actually progress. There's probably other factors at play, but that's something that comes out for me.
I think to build off of that, because I've been trying to think about this for my own clients too. Who are the clients that I know are going to do well and the clients that don't, right? I think the one indicator for potential for me is how you take criticism. You know, because you learn from mistakes, you learn from criticisms. You don't learn from compliments. So I don't actually appreciate it or even like it or even like want people to compliment me, because I know like that's not giving me anything. I want people to actually tell me what I'm doing wrong, where I'm weak, my flaws, etc. So, you know, sometimes like people come into the program and they say, I'm ready to grow. I'm so ready to grow. And they come up with their first hurdle and we give them the tough love the first time, or we tell them like how they're doing wrong the first time. And they get really discouraged. Not because like sometimes they say like Jeff is an asshole, or sometimes they see having their flaws pointed to them as inconvenient. It's like, oh, now this creates more work for me. But that attitude tells me that you're not actually interested in learning, because learning is you taking feedback or criticism. And sometimes it's not constructive, even in a form that's constructive. Taking tough moments, you learning to love taking tough moments and learning from that, growing from that. And that's what you do without any finish line kind of thing. You don't go, I will go through hell now so that I will go through heaven later. You don't do that. You just do it for the sake of doing it. Mm-hmm. If I see someone who can take criticism and they love that and they genuinely love that and they take action on that, I'm like, that's growth mindset right there. Because yeah,
I 100% have to agree with that. I'm the same way. I love getting the tough love. I love being told, hey, you're, you know, fucking up here. And I'm like, oh my God, you're right. I am. Wow. And now I can do something about it and actually grow. Mm-hmm. So I would have to agree, like that is a telltale sign of someone that actually embraces like a growth mindset. Is like, are you comfortable enough with yourself? Do you have an attitude of like, you know, other people in a way looking at you and being like, hey, I see room for growth here. It's not always going to be very like easy to hear, because we all like to think that we're like this perfect person already. But the reality is like no one's perfect and we all have things that we can improve on. And it only gives you more power when you're open to receiving that criticism and that tough love.
Yeah. You know, it's I was talking to David Sylvester about this one. And I was saying, you know, I think when I was a child, I was one of those people who hates criticisms. Whenever I would get it, I would like resist it in any way possible. I would deny it in any way possible. And that felt good to me. But what felt shitty was I didn't learn anything. And so life was very confusing to me. Like I didn't know how life worked. I didn't know if I did X, I would get Y. Like I couldn't predict life. Life was very unpredictable. It was very scary. It was very anxiety provoking. So that's the kind of thing when we say choose your heart. It's like, okay, do you want to make it easy for yourself now by being denial of all your issues and flaws, whatever it is? But in reality, you're actually making it hard for yourself. It's hard to live in a life where like you don't learn anything. Or do you want to take the heart of hey, let's learn the lessons. But then you live this bliss now where you talked about, where like life just seems very understandable and predictable and not crazy, and
Mhm.
getting to what you want actually becomes a reality. And that's like the true power and freedom definition, right? So
Yeah.
it's like choosing your heart, which one. And I'm also guessing that's why, you know, because I talk about this with Jason, and I was like, should we enroll more women? Because the way we coach is so masculine. It's so tough love. It's so like militaristic, even sometimes.
Uh-huh.
I'm guessing that's why you thrived in it, because you're like, this is what I want. This is how I grow.
Yeah, I actually loved that aspect. I mean, it was kind of funny in my relationship with 1A. We always kind of joked I was the man in the relationship because like I was always a little bit more on the logical side, a little bit, I have a masculine side to me. Whereas like I have my moments of very like feminine energy and flowiness and creativity, and all that beautiful stuff, and like taking care of people, and but I also have a masculine side that I like to embrace too. So there's a little bit of masculine and feminine in everyone. And I feel like, especially being like a woman joining RR, this is a great opportunity for you to not only just embrace your masculine side, but like learn how to do so in a way that's really, really healthy.
I love that. And we always say, true power and freedom is not being able to be who you are and avoiding who you're not. True power and freedom is about becoming whoever you need to become to be successful at that.
Mhm.
um in for your life, right, it's more of, there are many moments in your life where you need to be feminine, and you can be, and there are many moments in your life where you do need to animate more of your masculine side, and you can do that. um that's the importance of like having a fluid identity. It's like you can shift, be like water, as Bruce Lee said, right? And for me, it's like, and I think what people don't understand is when I give tough love, for example, that's a character. That's the identity I'm playing for that particular moment. But once I hang up that camera, I'm like, I switch. I play with my dogs, whatever it is. I'm more feminine, right? I have different characters. And so, guys, when this is really the important side of like identity shifting, and why identity shifting is so crucial. Not only does it allow you to change your identity in a way where it makes you successful in different areas of life, but part of shifting your identity is also being fluid with it, so that you don't find yourself in a position where you are really great at work, but then you come home and you cannot really animate that feminine side of yours to be seductive, to be with your kids, to be with whoever. Last point in this short detour. Um, when What was the last point? My God, maybe that is it. One sec. Let me just get my brain
Oh,
thinking.
good. Yeah.
That's it, I think. You said something interesting here, which is embrace reality and be deliberate about how you embrace reality. What do you mean by that one?
Embrace reality for what it is, not what you think it is, not what you think it should be, but what it actually is. And be deliberate, as in like, okay, I'm not going to look through this lens that is skewed anymore.
Mm.
That is this warped way of looking at the world. Um, I mean, that's a very easy way to fall into, the victim mindset, is looking through the world, like through these glasses that bends reality. And it's like, no, that's not actually what it is. It's
How,
actually this.
how did this manifest for you? Because I can see it manifesting in a lot of different ways. Like, one is you were trying to be in denial about the reality of who you are, maybe the reality of what relationships are supposed to be like.
Mhm.
How did this manifest for you?
This is kind of funny. So, something that just pops into my head is with 1B. So 1B straight up from the very beginning told me, I am afraid of commitment. He has a fear of commitment. And a lot of people would be like, oh, that's a red flag, run away. But I was like, oh, interesting. that's totally cool. Like that's fine. Like let's just, just talk and whatever. But yeah, 1B has a lot of like classic red flags, as people would call them. Like the fear of commitment, like, being wishy-washy a little bit, not being very clear in his communication about like, oh, does he really want me, or is he like unsure about me? Just little things like that. So like instead of it looking at that through a lens of like, oh, that's a red flag, like run far away. I was like, oh, this guy has probably been burnt so many times in his past. That's reality.
Yeah. But it's also
It,
an interesting question of like, what is reality too? Because reality is really subjective in a way. Reality is how you see things, it's how you interpret things, right? So, like you said, like if you want to interpret his kind of wishy-washiness as that's a red flag and judge it like that, you'll see it, right? And that's your and whatever you see becomes your reality. But then
yeah.
if you want your reality to be kind of like, okay, I choose to use that to understand. Sorry, I choose to use that to understand where he's at or how he's gotten here. Then you'll see that becomes your reality of how you see him as well. In the same way too, like some people come into the program, and I'm sure you've seen this, right? Where they get overwhelmed by the amount of information in the program. It's because they choose to see the amount of information as like something overwhelming rather than an opportunity for me to grow even higher. Or they see my tough love, which you've witnessed too, and they see it as like, no, Jeff is just being an asshole, instead of, I think Jeff does it because he wants me to be better and he knows I can be better. That's actually a very good compliment. Depending on how you want to see it, that defines your reality. I don't know if I took it too far tangentially from what.
Yeah, no, I think you clarified that really well, actually. Looking back at kind of what I said, I was like, oh, wait, Jeff actually has a great clarification there, because reality is whatever you make it to be. And so, like, my old reality, like my old self, as we call it, viewed reality through, a lot of like the disguises of desire, through the victim mindset, through, FAE bias, all those things. And then through the program, I got to change my reality. I got to change the way that I viewed everything in my life. But it's up to me. That's my choice. That's my responsibility, because I'm taking ownership over how I see the world. And now I'm looking at it through a lens of like, oh, I can actually do something about this. This is actually great. Looking at, like 1C, I, met him for the first time in person, and the next day he kind of was like rushed me out the house. A lot of people would be like, oh, he doesn't like me, but I was like, oh, he just wants to get on with his day, whatever, like respect. I'm gonna peace out, all good. And so like, yeah, it's not, you're not lying to yourself, you're clarifying to yourself what you're looking at.
Yeah. I see, it's interesting. Like, let's be metaphysical for a bit, right? Because
go.
I really see reality is valueless, meaning it's not good or bad. It's just a thing, right? And there's a saying that says like, nothing is good or bad until your mind makes it so, until you think it's so, right? It's because, a field burning, for example, is it a good thing or bad thing? If you see it as a bad thing, it will become a bad thing. But if you see it as, I don't know, the field is burning now, so it can be more fertile for the next season, it's an amazing thing. And you can see now the field burning in horror, but also with beauty as well, right? So it's whatever your consciousness imparts on it, it becomes that thing. And I think that's what we're talking about here. But I think also there's a lot of conversation here to be had around how, the saying that says like your beliefs become your reality. And I feel like a lot of people assign that to manifestation in a way. Whatever you think, like The Secret, right? Or if you think it, it'll happen. But there's actually a very logical reason why that happens, because, we gave this example of this one client. I'm sure you've seen this post where I said to him, okay, if you have the paradigm here, the belief that your situation is so unique and so dire, what happens is that paradigm will color the way you interpret what I teach. So if I teach, for example, hey, if you do this, your situation will become possible. Because you operate from the belief that it's not possible, you will reject what I say. If you reject what I say, you will keep doing the same things, which give you the same outcomes, right? So here, your beliefs literally become your reality because it affects your actions, your feelings, the way you interpret it. But the worst part is that once you get the outcome, let's say your wife keeps pulling away from you, you use the same beliefs to filter through that outcome. So you say to, I knew it. It was impossible. And then you kind of perpetuate your own reality. And so the outcome is like your situation becomes worse and worse and worse. But is it really that your situation was impossible? No, you just made it impossible. You thought it so, right?
Yeah, right.
And that's really the essence, I think, of what manifestation is. It's not like some magical thing. It's just that whatever your beliefs are, whatever you put out onto the world and to yourself, that defines your actions, and that defines or limits what you can get, or in terms of like life outcomes and so on. Yeah, expand on that. What? Because I feel like,
absolutely.
Go ahead.
This is something that, I spent a lot of time like working on. I have little manifestation, daily planner, little journals and stuff like that. So let's dive in. Yeah, so like it's true. It's not just some magical, metaphysical, spiritual science. No, it is like kind of sciencey in a way, because it's like, oh, the way that I view the world is going to affect how I feel. How I feel determines my actions. My actions, affect reality, and that results in some sort of outcome, which now I see that, and that the cycle repeats itself. So if we're looking for bad things, we're going to find bad things. But if we're looking for good things, we're going to find those good things too. So it's a matter of like expanding your mind to be able to see those good things, or, expand. It's not just about like seeing the good and ignoring the bad. No, see everything, because nothing's good or bad till you make it so.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is something people don't understand, right? It's like, how can my wife having an affair be bad? Be good, for example. It's like, well, it depends on how you see it, right? If you see it as like, you're going to lose everything, and how could she do this? Then yeah, it's going to be terrible. But if you see it as like, maybe this is going to be a very pivotal moment that will get me to change the course of my life forever. And this will point out some of my blind spots that I never knew about. Right? Not only will that change the way you feel about it, but it will change the action you take subsequently too. One person will use that same event as a way to vilify their partner, to justify themselves, to remain blind. The other person, their brain is tuned to a different frequency that allows them to like find different kinds of things. They're living the same reality, but two different realities at the same time, right? Internally.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That actually happened with like my 1A. He was seeing someone, I didn't know about it. And then like after like a few weeks or a month or however long it was going on, he told me about it because he felt so guilty, and he like couldn't, keep it to himself. And I was there holding his hand, like, like comforting him and being there to support him. And also, the conversation that we had when we initially broke up last February, I spent the week watching your YouTube videos and, expanding my mindset and shifting how I see things. So that way it opens up more possibilities, and, me being the best person I can be for my partner. I was there holding his hand while he was breaking up with me, comforting him. I was like, it's okay. I totally get why you're doing this. I actually do. And if this is what you need right now, because he was, going through some like mental health stuff, and a lot of the pain that he was feeling, he couldn't make sense of it. He didn't really have the right tools available to him at the time to be able to like work through the things. And I tried to be supportive the best that I could, but at the time I also didn't know how to do that. So it came down to him pinning a lot of the pain he believed at the time was because of me.
Yeah.
But he did discover he's on his own journey. I need to support my partner while he's on his own journey, even if it means in the short term going against my selfish interests.
Yeah.
So him breaking up with me was actually a great thing.
Yeah. And look at you, right? So like you take you in an alternate reality. You could have used that moment to destroy you, right? Because if your beliefs about that was terrible, that would color the way you interpret it, the way you feel about it, the way you do about it, the way your outcomes, and it keeps repeating itself. So there is an alternate reality somewhere where you are fucking miserable right now.
Totally.
Right? But then in this reality, look where you are. And it all starts with that belief, which is why, in our program, we really stress the internal shifts and change that paradigm and the belief pretty early on. There was a time in the program where we just taught people what to do, what to say, without all this internal stuff. And what we realized was that, we could teach people, we could give people bars of fucking gold and platinum, right, of solutions. But if their paradigms are still colored by victim mindsets and DODs, disguised desires, FAE bias, whatever it is, they're going to take that nugget of gold and they're going to see like, oh my God, this nugget of gold is too heavy. I can't carry that shit. Like they're somehow find shit with a bar of gold, right? Yeah. The same way, sometimes like when newbies come in, they have all these answers right in front of them. They have the whole treasure chest. And then they say, oh, this program is too long and complex. What? Do you not understand that this is the only program that had the balls to actually like explore this very abstract and very difficult to understand concept and teach it in a very reliable way? And you're shitting all over that? Like, what more do you need, kind of thing. I want to talk about another thing of like the emotional safety as a root of all issues here. Now that you look back, what is the basis for which now you can say, okay, I think I agree? Like, because a lot of people say, oh, root of all relationships is like having good communication, stuff like that. But then we're saying here, beneath communication is really emotional safety. What made you a believer of that?
Because like you can communicate all you want on the outside externally and be conscious and aware of your, body language and stuff. But like, you're not going to create emotional safety through like your external sort of like, oh, let me just say these words. It all comes from within you and how you really truly feel.
Tell me more about that. So give me an example of that in action, I guess, if you could.
Nothing really
pops like that.
Oh, you're good. I mean, nothing really pops to the top of my head. But like in terms of like communication, yeah, I mean, with a lot of the communication with like 1B, 1A, I would like try to get myself in that like mindset of, shifting it. But I found that like, unless I had the internal shifts, they really didn't believe my bullshit. Like, they will not believe, like your partner will not believe you bullshitting them unless you actually like mean what you say. Because you can say all the right things, but like if you're not actually believing what you say, like they're gonna call bullshit, and that actually like destroys emotional safety.
Yeah.
More in a way.
I think you're getting to something really deep here, deeper than what I originally asked, but I love that, right? Which is that I think, again, it goes back into what is the essence of emotional safety. And the essence of emotional safety is that it is a very falling thing, meaning that, sometimes, we lose emotional safety in a relationship, but we don't know that we lost it because it's such an intangible, ephemeral thing. And it's intangible because, if you look at someone struggling with emotional safety issues, the real problem is not only is there no emotional safety to express to someone else that you don't have emotional safety issues, which if you don't express it, it leaves both pretty blind to it. But if you look at, if you could somehow have like a mental microscope to each person in a relationship with no emotional safety, you'll realize also that there is usually no emotional safety to even think deep within yourself to realize that you don't have emotional safety, to realize the problems, because you're so scared to dive deep. So not only is the blindness created by the fact that nothing is being expressed, but nothing is being in, like nothing goes in too. So nothing goes out, nothing goes in. We're just choosing to remain blind. Does that make sense?
And yeah, I think so. So like you must build emotional safety within yourself before you're able to really, truly, actually fully build it with anyone outside of yourself. I think that's what I got from what you just said.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something that, before relationship revival, I struggled with that. When I was 18, I was like, figuring out my life. I was very depressed still. And I was terrified of being alone, like with my own mind, because it was that bad. I had no emotional safety with myself. And it was terrible. But now, being more introspective and having the tools that, RR like, teaches, I'm able to build that with myself and trust my own judgment. RR allowed me to determine what are my values, not what everyone else around me is valuing, whatever they say is the right thing. Because like I had to make some pretty difficult decisions these past few months. And like, man, there's so much I can go into.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like when I was deciding whether or not to meet 1C, people outside of me would be like, oh, it's the wrong thing to do because you're like, seeing 1B. But I'm like, but what's right for me? What's right for what I value? And as long as I'm being genuine and honest with like myself and everyone else involved, that is what matters.
Yeah.
Doing what makes you happy in an honest, genuine way that aligns with your own values and your own intentions that you have to establish. It can't be established by other people, or else you're never going to build that trust within yourself.
Yeah. And I think you touched on a really great point. So I'm going to branch off in two areas here. And one is that, the reason why we say if you don't create emotional safety within yourself first, you cannot create it in other people. And so I get this question sometimes, not often, but sometimes, where someone asks like, okay, your program teaches me how to create emotional safety with my partner, but what about the emotional safety she gives to me? And my response to that is always, if you're asking that question, then by definition, you don't understand what creating emotional safety means, or you cannot create emotional safety. Because, emotional safety for yourself is supposed to be created from you. You're not supposed to like wait for your partner to create emotional safety for you. You're supposed to be like, get bulletproof, learn to change your beliefs, learn to change your paradigms about how you see issues, how you see tough truths, how you see difficult moments in life, in a way where it is not only does it not destroy your own safety for yourself, but it actually you thrive more because of it, right? The more shit you get, the more you thrive. And when you are in that position, that is the only position in life where your partner could be telling you some very difficult news, some very tough truth, some really difficult feelings, expressing some really difficult stuff with you. And that's the only way you won't crumble along with them. I used to be in this position where like my partner would tell me something really difficult and then I would panic along with her. Right? Because there's nothing within me to go, okay, you're panicking. I'm going to use your panicking and rise up even more. And I'm going to pull you up. And that's the very definition of what it means to be a leader. So if you cannot create emotional safety within yourself, there's no way you can create emotional safety in other people, in a work setting, in a romantic setting, in a parenting setting, right? That's what we literally call tethered, which is not what you want. I forgot the second part I was going to branch off to. Let me see. We'll get back to it later. Okay. All good. But I want to branch off from here to like how you said it takes just one to create that emotional safety. Um, how do you see that manifesting in your life? Like how you alone, like, people always say it takes two to tango. Um, if my partner doesn't want to work on things, then forget it. But then here you're saying it takes one to create emotional safety.
Mhm. So the way that that manifests in my life, it's taken me a lot of time, a lot of introspecting to be able to figure that out for myself, because it's something that, like, we can talk about it, we can, logically understand and be like, oh, that makes sense. But unless you actually build that and experience it and feel it for yourself, you won't really know what feeling emotional safety within yourself feels like.
Mm.
And it's really just like, no doubt about it, I trust my instincts. I trust my gut. I trust my intentions. I trust what I'm doing, even if it might seem a little bit difficult or go against the grain of what I've been believing my entire life. Like, for example, when I decided to go meet 1C in person, that was kind of a difficult decision, because I'm like, okay, well, if I decide that, then it's pretty much like, I'm pretty much saying to 1B, hey, I'm not like super interested in you anymore.
Mm.
I'm kind of like moving on. And like, past self me would have been scared and be like, oh, I don't know if that's the right decision. Oh, what am I doing? But now I'm like, all right, like, actually, 1C turns out to be a great guy. I can see myself being best friends with him for the rest of my life. And I'm still, this is like very early, I'm still getting to know him, but I just have this feeling within me that like feels right. And I want to build upon that more.
Mm.
Because like, for the first time in my life, I feel this like emotional safety within myself. And now I feel very like confident
Yeah.
that I'm able to build that into any relationship that I choose to go in. It's ultimately my choice.
I love that. I don't know if this will resonate with you, but I'm gonna kind of state some things from my own personal experience too, and see if this is what the softer thing, the more abstract thing we're trying to get people to, right? It's like this. It's like, first is, you know, I used to get really bothered, Camille, by comments or like hateful people who basically shit all over me, right? Like, for example, if I choose to do things this way, if I choose to say this, right, they would just spin it in a negative way and tell me that what I'm doing is wrong. You should do this instead. You should do that instead. And I found myself, the shitty things I feel was that I now found all those voices from other people, and I question myself a lot. And I figure out, like, okay, should I be doing that? Am I right to do this? A great example of this is, again, like, it was a really hard decision for me to decide I'm going to do my program in a way where I'm going to be tough on some people, right? And I know I'm going to get some people hating me for that, but I know I'm going to get some results and some people loving me for that as well. And then every time I get like this very visceral hate from some people on that, I would start to question myself. Another tough decision was when I decided I'm not going to operate like most programs, and I'm actually going to take in less than 10% of people who apply. And of course, like, that means that I offend 9 out of 10 people who apply. And every time I get people like begging and like saying mean things, I question it. And I go like, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? I think what you're saying though is like, now you live by certain principles. You know what the right principles are behind your decisions, behind what is right, what is wrong for you personally, behind what you're trying to create, the vision you're trying to create. And people can misunderstand that all they want. People can spin it in a negative way all they want, but you are not going to basically betray your own principles because people choose to see it wrong. Is that
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we call, like, in the program, systems principles thinking. And that is really the essence of what confidence is, right? It's confidence is Because the bigger you get, like the more value you come, the more you put yourself out there in the world, the more you're going to introduce misunderstandings from other people. The more people are going to hate you, the more people are going to misunderstand you, right? In all their crazy ways.
Mm-hmm.
But it's having that paradigm that despite everything kind of hitting you corner to corner, you're still like solid on that.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Yeah.
Because you know what you're doing. Those other people, they don't know what you're doing. They have their own shit going on. And a lot of times other people, when they hate on you, it's because they have some shit going on in their life that they got to take care of. It has nothing to do with you, like at all. So being able to like stand on your own 2 feet as if you're like this tree that's like super strongly planted in the ground, that is confidence. You can withstand any wind, any weather, any hurricanes. And even if you do get knocked down, your branches break, whatever, like it's fine. You're so good at the core, at the root of like what you're doing and what you believe in and all these things that you've built within yourself.
Yeah.
Because you feel confident, and all the storms that do come makes you even stronger because you're like, wow, I withstood that storm last year. I can withstand this one and the next one. And like the more shit that you take in life, the more negative resistance or whatever comes your way, the stronger and stronger you become. And you prove that to yourself.
Yeah.
Every single time. So welcome the bad things in life.
And so we go back into this whole notion of like, it just takes one to tango. It just takes one to create emotional safety. And this is how it works. It starts off with you changing your paradigms to get into that state where you are fucking unmovable. Because, right, when you're trying to save any relationship, whether it's work or whatever it is, you're going to go through what we call like paradox of change, right? Where as you try to change, people are going to doubt you. People are going to be suspicious of that. People are going to resist you more. And if you are not solid within yourself like that, you're going to have all these external doubts, and those external doubts will become internal doubts very fast, right? The only way those external doubts doesn't become internal doubt, in fact, the external doubts become more of an inspiration for you to stand even stronger and do the right things even stronger, do what you think is right even stronger. That prerequisite needs to happen, right? That internal shift. And I think that's the main big takeaway that I want you guys to understand. And if you look at my life, for example, right? When I quit my job as like a data scientist and I wanted to do this, my parents were like, "What the fuck? Are you crazy? We put you through school for you to like be this YouTube relationship guy. What the fuck?" Yeah. My friends were like, "That's not you. Who are you?" Right? If I wasn't strong within me, my identity there, I'll be swept away. The same way when I was trying to reconcile, when I started to talk differently, my partner told me like, "Oh, you sound like a therapist. Stop saying that. It sounds so fake. Stop doing that." Right? If I was weak internally, that's it. I'm gone. And you cannot ever create emotional safety like that, because emotional safety again is, like it's built in the subtle, in the curveballs, right? Imagine if you want to trust someone, for example, you would look at the 100 things they did, and you would look at the one thing they did and go, okay, that's the one thing they did that they could not fake. That's the part that you look at, not the 99 things they did right that they could have faked. It was easy to fake, etc. So it's what you do during those paradox of changes, those really intense resistances, that's going to really count the most. And if you are not strong within yourself, you're always going to get swept during those dips, right? Which is the moments that count.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, why should anyone trust you if you can't even trust yourself and stand strong in those moments?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
If you break in that one instance, like someone's, your partner is going to look at you, other people are going to look at you and be like, dude, how can I trust you if you can't even like stand strong within yourself? You have work.
Yeah. I get this example, right, of like, so let's say you're a comedian and you have a show on Thursday night, okay? And you meet this really beautiful woman that you really like, and then she goes, the only night I'm free this week is Thursday. And so you go, okay, well, if that's the only time you're free, so I'll just cancel everything and I'll go with you, right? Like, that's a person who doesn't stand strongly his own principles. And it's just like, I don't know, I don't feel safe anymore. Like, you got no principles to stand on here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's such a much more attractive quality to be like, hey, I got this show on Thursday. I cannot do it. I already promised it, right? And I want to be integrative to that decision. So even though I really want to, I cannot do it. Even though, like, logically speaking, that's the worst thing to say. It's a very attractive thing to say because you're like, wow, this guy has some principles. This guy has some like things to stand on. This guy has morals. This guy has integrity, right? Once he says something, he does it. So if you keep like crumbling, like a lot of people, right, who join the program, they will say to their partner, I will do anything to save my marriage. I'll do anything. I'll go through anything. And then their partner tells them, it's impossible. Please stop trying. I'm never going to change my mind. They see the program is very complex and very long.
Mm-hmm.
And they go, you know what? Maybe I don't want this. I'm like, okay, so all the promises you made and you went back on that promise a few days later, how can I trust anything you say anymore? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Next segment here, you know, we gave this cup analogy before where we said basically when you first start out your life, you're sort of like a half full cup. So your cup is half full and you're wanting other people to like fill it in, right? So this is when you're children, for example, you're always asking money and resources from your parents, stuff like that. Then you learn to be independent. When you have a full cup, but your cup is not overflowing, you just have a full cup. Then the third stage is when you have an overflowing cup, right? I think back then, if you look at where you were pretty much like a full cup, but because your cup wasn't overflowing, you were scared of other people like taking away the water from your cup, kind of thing. You're still very protective. You're still about like, you're still very like combative and competitive. I know I was like that when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that playing out in your life where like in your relationship where everything was very tit for tat, everything was very calculative?
Are you saying like my more recent relationship or like before RR?
Before RR, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, totally. I was very protective over like my energy and preserving my energy because I didn't know when I was gonna create my own like momentum, my own energy, my, generate my own water in my cup. So any water that I had, I was like, no one take it. It's mine. But now I'm just like, yeah, take some water. I don't care. Like I'm going, like I have so much. I have so much. And I'm not even like, I'm not focused on protecting my like reserve anymore. I'm like digging for like more source, like more water sources, and it just keeps going and going and going, so instead of just having like this like finite amount of water in my cup, now it's just like I got a hose and I'm
yeah, you're looking for other cups to fill.
I have the source of where I get the water from now, so like I'm chilling.
Yeah, it's so interesting because like if I look back at that time when my cup was full but not overflowing, that was a time when I thought like I was the shit, right? And I remember approaching my relationship in such a combative way, in such a very competitive way. I will only do this thing if you do this for me, or that standpoint of like, well, you didn't do this for me, so why would I do that for you, kind of thing. And then we always talk about kind of power struggles, who had the leg up, who was like, we always talk about this really petty shit. And every time I sense like my partner trying to take some of my water, my mind would just go into what's wrong with her. She's just like a parasite, whatever it is. But now, with the overflowing cup kind of state, whenever she takes something from me, I'm like, yeah, please do. Like, I actually want you to take it. Like, actually want you to give this. And I don't even talk about like power struggles or weird kind of petty stuff anymore. It's just, let me become the best of myself for you. And I don't worry about getting taken advantage of. I don't know. Since you're in the dating world, right? And the reason why I'm going with this is, since you're in the dating world right now, do you see, like, do you sense when people are in stage 2, when their cup is full but not overflowing, versus overflowing cups? Like, what do you see in men that it's like, okay, they're in stage 2 versus stage 3?
Okay, totally. Yeah, I really like that question a lot. Yeah, I mean, so I spent like a month in LA this summer and I met people. I, went on like a few dates, like a handful of dates, with different guys, just, for the first time in my life. I'm not in a long-term relationship. Woo, I'm like dating. And it's interesting because like I meet all these different people and I feel like now that I'm at like stage 3 of like, oh, like I have, like an overflowing cup, I can sense when someone is still here versus like here. And like when you have like your full cup, it's not necessarily like a bad thing or whatever. Like if anything, like if I see that I'm interested in someone and they have like a lot of potential to grow and they want to grow, hell yeah, I'm here to be like your bestie to support you through that. Like I will cheer you on. But I mean, it is very like, it's very nice meeting someone like 1C for me. His cup is like overflowing and I love it. I love it. We're like here together. We're both like here, right? And we feel like everyone else is here. Not trying to sound like, oh, like we're better than other people.
No, it's
No,
okay.
but like
Yeah.
we feel like growth and mindset. We're like here together and we're like on the same level and it's awesome. And he's never taken our R. He just like
He
does his
did?
thing super caught. He didn't.
Oh, okay. Oh.
He but yeah, he's like super confident and like, I love that. It's so attractive. And like 1B, I think his cup is like full, but he's still, not like overflowing.
Yeah.
But I'm still here to support him. And same with like 1A. Like he's kind of in this stage of like his cup is like full, but he's protecting it. And maybe there's like some room to keep filling it up. But
If you could articulate what differentiates full cup versus overflowing cup? Like, can you see it? Can you, like, what makes you see it? What makes you feel it in the things they do, the things they talk about, the things,
yeah.
the way they present themselves?
Okay, totally. Like, okay, doing whatever the fuck you want to do and not giving a shit about what other people think. Being so freaking confident in what you're doing and why you're doing it for yourself, for you. This life is for you. If you're still like living for other people or you care about what other people think, this sounds like that classic, like, oh, just be yourself. Don't care what other people think. It's a lot easier said than done, but that's something that like you can just tell, you can sense that in their confidence and how strong their tree that they've built is for themselves and like how much they nourish it and grow it. The stronger someone's tree is, the more that you want that person, the more attractive they are in my eyes.
Yeah. I think also there's like one stage beyond that for me. It's like, we say you are willing to do what you believe is right and you don't give a fuck what people think. But what you believe, I feel like the difference between 2 and 3 is that what they believe is right, right? 2 is what they believe is right is very self-serving. It's like, what is right for me? While 3 is more of like, okay, not only is it what is right for me, but will it benefit other people too? And that is the most attractive part to me. Like whenever I see people like that, where you know, they naturally, what is right for them naturally benefits other people, because it's almost like their cup is overflowing. They're looking for other cups to fill, and they're naturally doing that because the water needs somewhere to go.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a big difference too? Like, how do you see that difference?
I actually like that you brought that up, because that's something that I didn't bring up. That's like, oh, that's so true. Um, I think there's a difference between like someone looking for cups to fill, because they're trying to get like approval, versus like, oh, I have all this water, just take it. And giving it out to like the right people. You could be like, it's like on their own dime. You could be selective. You could be, you know, like you only have so much energy, and like you could go so many directions with this question.
You can, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to tell the difference between 2 and 3, but it's so subtle, right? So
Yeah.
recently, this year was wedding season for us. Not only did we have our own wedding, but we went to like 6 weddings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can tell the weddings that we go to where it's clear that you put on this extravagant show because you want us to think you're awesome, versus you put on this extravagant show because you want us to have a good time. I cannot articulate what that is, right? But I can feel it.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes like guys, for example, they would do a lot of things to appear very strong and like, I don't give a fuck, I'm masculine, whatever it is. But if you can sense that like their masculinity is based on like some self-serving thing, like they're trying to flash their car or like talk about how awesome they are.
Yeah.
Even though they don't give a fuck about what you think, it's still not attractive. It's like, oh, like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
But they do give a fuck about what you think. It's like, I don't give a fuck about what you think.
Oh, yeah.
But you
Okay,
really
okay.
do.
There you go.
You
There you
really
go.
do.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
There's that little fine little, oh, I'm saying one thing, but I really feel another way.
Yeah.
Versus like,
I got
oh,
you.
this is how I feel. I'm saying how I feel, and this is how I actually feel. I feel like that could be the difference between 2 and 3, is like saying one thing and actually feeling another, versus saying one thing and actually feeling that thing.
Right. So 2 differences, right? One is like the strength in which you say, I don't give a fuck, right? Because like cup number 2 will say, my cup is full, I don't give a fuck, but they give a fuck, right? If you take something from them, you're like, oh, don't take it, right? What are you doing?
I get offended so easily.
Right. But then the number 3 is like, okay, they really don't give a fuck because they have plenty, right? And the second thing is like, if you are 2 and 3, 3 is more of, okay, I will not give a fuck what you think, but I know that what I believe in is also good for everybody here. Like, this is noble.
Yeah.
This is not just selfish.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. You're not just thinking about yourself. You're still being considerate of how, your actions and what you decide to do impacts other people. And ideally, we want it to benefit, everyone. We want it to be symbiotic versus parasitic.
Yeah.
A lot of people, like that relationship I had in high school, which was very bad. He was very parasitic, very selfish, very self-acting, and that's very needy. And that's not attractive at all. If anything, it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Versus like someone that's like just full of so much love, and they just want to be supportive. They want to be good to themselves, but also good to you, and like to their family, their friends. Like that's someone that like is good for society. It's symbiotic. It just benefits everyone.
I think the most beautiful thing you said here too is also like how this concept of like how loving someone is basically loving someone is being able to kind of like let them go and be their own thing, kind of thing, right? People with like level 2 full cups but no overflowing cups, their approach to keeping their partner is usually a very tyrannical approach, I guess, to doing it, where because like we're trying to get into parenting philosophies and stuff like that, right? And there's a lot of like men who always say, a man's job is to protect the women, right? Which is not a wrong thing in itself, but it depends on what your definition of protecting is. If my definition of protecting my kid is to not ever let him out the house because I don't want them to like fall down ever, is that really protecting him? Not really. My definition of protecting him is really like, okay, I'm gonna build you up. I'm gonna teach you some stuff. I'm gonna let you gain confidence, if so you can fly as high as you want. Basically, it's the principle of like, I will treat you well enough. I will train you so that you can leave, but I will treat you well enough so you won't want to, kind of thing. And I feel like a lot of men have a very faulty definition of what protecting women means. Because for a lot of men, I think, and tell me what you think about this, right? Their idea of protecting women is, I'm going to provide for you. I'm going to do all these things for you with the voice that says, I'm doing it for you, but really is that they want to be seen as the provider, as the king, as the awesome one. What do you think about that? As a woman's perspective?
I feel like, yeah, from a woman's perspective, I feel like, it's probably not true for everyone, but there's certainly like a massive handful of guys where that is true. Like you're like, in a sense, proving something to yourself, like, oh, I am the big man of the house. It's like you're seeking something. It's not just about that, but it's almost as if like they're seeking like something else a little bit, like deeper. If we want to go like to the thing behind the thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's like a thing behind the thing there to be said, and it might be different for everyone, but it's almost as if they're seeking like approval or like reassurance that, yeah, I am the big guy. Maybe they just want like a boost of confidence, and that's perfectly fine. It's going to be a little bit different for everyone.
Yeah, I love that.
From
But
a woman's perspective,
I think my takeaway here that you have so beautifully like encapsulated is like, even though, because I'm in the niche, Camille, where a lot of men are in denial, right? They like to portray themselves as like very high value, but then yet you have this person who's supposed to be, who loves you at first, who wanted to spend the rest of their life with you at first, suddenly running for the hills, but they still maintain that denial. And the thing I have to say to this men is like, your partner may not understand or how to articulate what's missing, but they can see the thing being a thing. They can see like the real deep core behind everything that you do, right? And they can smell that. Even if you do something nice that is like on paper very good, like you throw this really beautiful wedding for us, great, right? But somehow, if I sense that like you're doing this because it's a self-serving intention, I can smell that. Like people can smell that. So you can't fake any of this value. You can't fake being in level 3, I guess.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Last point. You said do because you are, not because you want to have something. What does that mean to you?
I'm doing things because this is who I am, not because I'm trying to get an outcome. So, like, I mean, why I did things before, like if you're in a relationship that's falling apart and you're trying to like save it, that's an outcome you're trying to like grab or attain somehow. Versus like being a supportive person and like, by being there for your partner to support them through like whatever it is that they're going through, even if it's not in your selfish interest, like they're breaking up with you. Let me hold your hand like while I support you through breaking up with me.
Yeah.
That's because I am being a supportive person. I'm being. And I'm doing that to support you, not because I want to have you in my life.
Why do you think that's important to come from that place?
Because this is where we get into like intentions. Why am I doing this? Is it because I'm selfish? Is it because I'm needy? Or is it because I actually care about you and I want the best for you? So I think there's, it depends on like where you're coming from, of like why you're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I look back at my own relationship too, and you know, I did a lot of nice things, but then if I do the nice thing because, and people can sense that like I'm doing it because I want to have something, and it may not be explicit. It's very implicit. It's very subtle, and most people cannot even articulate it. But you have been in situations in your life where someone did something for you, and you're like, I don't know, I don't feel as thankful for this one for some reason, because you can sense like there's some strings attached there. You want me to do something,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Yeah. And I think that's why like a lot of people struggle to have their efforts to reconcile be believable, is because they have that tinge in the back of their head, and it's pressure filled for their partner, right? Imagine like you're in a position where you don't want to be in this relationship anymore, and then this person's doing all these nice things. It's like, if I know that if I receive this gift, I will have to give a gift back, I'm like, fuck it, just don't give me a gift. Just forget it, you know?
Yeah.
I would rather have no gift. So that intention is crucial, guys. Is there anything that you wanted to say that you didn't get to say, you feel like, in the first interview?
Um, I feel like we did pretty good covering everything. I mean, like I said, honestly, honestly, joining RRs changed my life for the better. And because I joined it, like when I was 23, being so young and being someone that is not married, doesn't have kids, I'm, embracing this life of like, oh, I'm still single. Let me like figure out what I even want and like who I am and like who like this identity I'm embracing as I create my life. Um, I find that it's literally changed the rest of my life. And this one life that I get to live is going to be so much more well lived because I'm going to be living more true to myself. I'm not going to be living out of fear anymore. I'm way more confident. I'm the happiest I've ever been. And it's just going to keep going up from here. So I'm
Yeah.
like super excited.
Yeah.
So for anyone that's like thinking about joining RR, I highly recommend it. It's really, really something that's invaluable. And like Jeff's put in a ton of work, like literally like probably like thousands and thousands of hours of his life dedicated to this. And like it's worked for me. It's worked for like, so many other people. Like you're not special. I like that you're not special. But it's true. Um, so there's a lot more to RR than just like, getting back with your boyfriend or having your wife cancel the divorce. It's all about, reviving your relationship with yourself. And that's something that not all of us get to experience and get in touch with. But RR gives you all the tools that you can use to create yourself and be the person that you want to be, so you can live the life that you want to live. So
Camille, I feel like this conversation, this is, it's a very, like this, I love this one, right? Because like, I think in a lot of the interviews that we have, it's very logical interviews. It's like, okay, you are kind of just like saying a lot of things that I said in the program, but you're just kind of regurgitating it or paraphrasing it in a different way. But I feel like, what you've done here is you've taken what I've taught you when you've kind of saw the deeper, more abstract part of it. And I feel like in his interviews, there's many times where we both felt, I think, man, this is really hard to articulate, right?
yeah.
But that's the part that I love, right? It's when you can get into, when you have mastered something so deeply to the point where you can articulate the abstract. It's like an artist, for example, trying to articulate the abstract parts of his painting. You just can't do it. But that artist has such a mastery of the basics of the non-abstract that now he has freed his mind to explore the abstract kind of thing. I see it like that. So I really enjoyed this. This is really good.
Yeah, me too. I so appreciate it, Geoffrey.
Yeah.
Like everything you're doing is amazing and you're changing lives. And the Geoffrey that you mythologized years ago of like changing generations and generations and generations is fucking real. Okay. So never forget that it's real.
That's awesome. Oh man, that puts tears to my eyes because like
It's true.
I wake up every day thinking that. I wake up every day thinking like that's what I want to do. That's why I'm waking up today. That's why I like, despite I can chill on the beach, I'm choosing to stay in this freaking office to like change lives every day and like go through the difficult people. This is so thank you for that. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely, changed my life. And there's like it's like a ripple in a pond. And all the other, lily pads in the pond, or like the fishes or whatever, are all feeling that ripple of my pebble dropping in the water because you taught me how to drop that pebble.
Hmm.
And now everyone in my life is experiencing like such positive energy from me.
Yeah.
Not just, my romantic relationships, but also my friendships and my travels and the random people I meet on the beach, in California, that like just so many random things. Like people can sense your energy, like you, the ominous you, and also you. People can sense our energy.
Yeah.
And like if we can master our internal selves, we can master our energy, and like other people are just gonna come to us and they won't even know why.
Yeah.
And that's what started happening in my life, and it's amazing. It's honestly really, really.
I love that, right? It's like the hardest part about this job, Camille, is really how do you take something that is defined as so magical, so untouchable, intangible, so unexplainable, that magic, that fleeting like energy, as you say, how do you like deconstruct that? And how do you package it into a way where the logical mind can understand, can deconstruct, and then can reconstruct to when you do it together, it makes up this like energy, this
Totally.
vague energy.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing to see like a client who can understand how and why I've deconstructed it like that. And then so you can reconstruct it yourself. So you can create this magic, but it doesn't feel like magic to you. It's like the magician, right? It's like for the audience, it's like magic. But then for you, you know exactly what you engineered to create that magic. And that's the life.
That's the most amazing thing of everything, of it all. So I just want to say a big thank you. And yeah, joining RR was the best decision of my life, honestly. Cause like I was like, you know what? When I joined, I was 23. And I'm like, what do I have to lose? Other than if I don't take RR and suffer for the next 50 years, what if there's something that I can take away from this program? And honestly, like I felt it. And like the week or two of watching like your YouTube videos, I'm like, if I can benefit this much from the free content, what can possibly happen from me, like, joining the program and embracing it fully as a lifestyle? Like legit, I am the person that I've always wanted to become, and I'm still becoming that person. And that was only made possible because like I joined RR, and like it's just been hell of a ride the past year and a half, and I'm only 25. I have so many more years to go. I can't even imagine where I'm going to be in 10 years or in 20 years.
God. Yeah.
We're gonna start
You're
mythology.
Oh my God, you're gonna crush it. You're gonna crush it, right?
Let's go.
I think you were actually ahead of me when I was your age. Because 25, I wasn't very awakened. Because yeah, I wasn't very awakened. But
Wow.
amazing.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wait, how old were you when you started like creating RR?
I really started in 2011, so that's
Okay.
I
Wow.
was 20.
Yeah.
But when you're starting to create something like this, you are discovering as you're creating. Like you haven't really figured it out.
Yeah.
It wasn't until to be honest, it wasn't until like about a year or two after launching the program that I really became like more awakened, because that was like having early clients really forced me to synthesize more things that I thought I understood. Like again, deconstructing that abstract into something more more concrete,
Yeah.
be able to like teach it to other people and realize it within yourself. That was big for me. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, when you teach it, that's when you really, really learn it.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
yeah.
So guys, if you want to explore the program that Camille explored, we have a masterclass. It's about an hour and a half long. At the end of the masterclass, we'll show you how to apply for the program if you want to apply. Um, since Camille joined, our demand for the program has really changed. So unfortunately, we cannot take everyone who applies. Right now, I think we only have room for like 1 out of 10. We're trying to hire more coaches to like take on more clients, but we just can't do that. So, during the application process, be sure to pay attention to it to make sure like you just, treat it seriously, I guess. Yeah. That said, Camille, thank you so much. This is a blast.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. I so appreciate it. And here's to many, many more amazing years to come. And also, congrats on getting married. That is so amazing.
Thank you. Yeah.
So amazing.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Didn't change anything, the married life, but now we're thinking about a kid. So
Oh, it's so exciting.
that has like added a new dimension to our relationship where like now, we let go, I think, of a lot more petty stuff because now we know there's a bigger mission, there's a bigger vision in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Wow. Well, maybe you can include like, something with parenting in the
Or
program.
parenting. Sam is actually doing that. Sam is gonna do that.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
she's good at that stuff. Yeah, so she's actually starting a coaching business on parenting.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, definitely building that through the experience is going to be amazing.
Right. All right, Camille. Have
All
a
right.
great day.
All right. You as well.
Bye.
All right. Bye.